All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel. I am with the National Renewable Energy Lab, and today we are going over the Make It Prize Facilities Track Statement of Intent. So just a quick overview, the prize was developed by the Office of Technology Transition in partnership with the Office of Clean Energy Demonstration. Again, this is the Facilities Track webinar. The Strategies Track webinar will be hosted later today at 2 p.m. Eastern, and a link for that will go into the chat. We have some housekeeping to take care of. This webinar is being recorded. If you run into any issues and can't attend the full thing or want to share it with others, we will be posting a link to the recording later on our HeroX page. For questions, we will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. You'll notice by your chat box that there is also a Q&A box. Feel free to put any questions in there as we are presenting, and we will address the questions after the presentation. Finally, if you have any technical issues, please check your audio tab to see if there are any settings you can adjust to make sure you can see and hear everything. As a reminder, we will be posting the recording later, so if something goes wrong, you will still have access to all of this information. Here's our agenda for today. I'll be spending the next hour or so reviewing the following points. First, I would like to give a brief overview of the American Made Challenges program as context for this prize. I'll do a big picture overview of the Make It Prize and Facilities Track. I'll pass it over to Becca from the Office of Technology Transition to give an overview of the history of Make It and provide some context of how this prize came to be and how it fits into the work of DOE. We will dig into the prize information. I'll discuss the eligibility requirements for the prize to make sure everyone knows what it takes to be a part of it. We will talk about the timeline so that you know what we are looking at for due dates. Then we'll do a deep dive into the submission requirements so that you know exactly what is being asked of you as a potential competitor and what those pieces entail. We will talk about how to register your team and how to submit your materials. I will review the scoring process so that you know what our reviewers are looking for. And finally, I'll provide you with some supports and resources. We will be doing the virtual Q&A, so please send us your questions in the chat and we will post the answers for everyone to see in the coming days on our HeroX site. Okay, so I want to give an overview of the American Made Challenges program. American Made Challenges is what we call the fast track to the clean energy revolution. This program is funded by the Department of Energy, DOE, and is managed here at NREL. This prize is one of more than 70 prizes that focuses on giving innovators and entrepreneurs a fast track to getting funding so that we can change the trajectory of clean energy here in America. American Made Challenges started with one prize about 5 years ago, and since then we have distributed more than 260 million in cash prizes and support and have more than 450 network members who are different organizations across the country working with and supporting these different prizes. And now I'm going to pass it over to Becca Simkowitz at the Office of Technology Transition.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining. My name is Becca Simkowitz. I am a commercialization program manager at the Office of Technology Transitions. And I have worked really closely with colleagues across the department, especially in the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations, to develop and launch the Manufacture of Advanced Key Energy Infrastructure Technologies, or MAKE IT prize. So the goal for MAKE IT is to catalyze domestic manufacturing to enable replication and commercial liftoff of clean energy demonstration projects. So we're looking to do this through a couple of different approaches. One is to move manufacturing facilities for specific critical clean energy technology components from planning to shovel ready, and to help communities develop strategies that will help bring vibrant manufacturing activity to their regions. This prize has an approximately $30 million prize pool, cash prizes, across 2 different tracks that are working on each of these approaches. But the tracks are quite different. They have different audiences, timelines, and prize structures. Please go ahead. So the track we're discussing today is the facilities track. And the facilities track is aiming to incentivize necessary work to move manufacturing facilities for individual components from the point of planning to being shovel ready, so ready for construction by the end of the prize. So this track is looking to attract teams working to build manufacturing facilities for specific eligible clean energy components who can win up to $5 million across the length of the prize. Something we're especially interested in through this track are revitalizing shuttered facilities, encouraging brownfield development, and repurposing existing facilities. And now I'll share a little bit more with you about the background for the prize. So go ahead. So as I've mentioned, the prize was developed by the Office of Technology Transitions in partnership with the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations. So the Office of Technology Transition, or OTT's, mission is to expand the commercial impact of DOE's research investments and to drive private sector uptake of clean energy technologies. And I'm going to pass it over for a moment to my colleague, Andrew Bray, from the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations, to talk a bit about their work.
Thanks, Becca. I'm Andrew Bray, do program development for the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations, and just wanted to express that we're very excited for this prize. It's really an important part of what we're trying to accomplish with OSED, and really critical to supplying the components needed for some of the larger demonstration projects and the industry as a whole. OSED was established 3 years ago in 2021, so fairly new, funded with $26 billion in bill funding. And its mission is to support new demonstrations in collaboration with the private sector for first of a kind clean energy infrastructure. So both projects and that infrastructure that's needed to make that happen. So along with those big demo projects, it's this ecosystem that's really important, and that we recognize this need for the manufacturing. So we really appreciate all the work everyone's doing in these applications. It's a very big task. And we're excited to see what everyone comes up with. So I'll turn it back over. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks, Andrew. So a little bit about the funding source here. So the Technology Commercialization Fund was established by Congress in the Energy Policy Act and then reauthorized in EA 2020. And the goal of the Technology Commercialization Fund is to promote promising energy technologies for commercial purposes. So OTT is charged with leading policy and programs related to technology commercialization. And the Technology Commercialization Fund states that DOE should use 0.9% of its research, development, demonstration, and commercial application funding to promote promising energy technologies for commercial purposes. So when Congress passed the bipartisan infrastructure law in November 2021, this provided $62 billion in new funding, much of which was also subject to the Technology Commercialization Fund. So that is, how we came to launch this prize. So next slide, please. So a little bit about our work under bipartisan infrastructure law, TCF specifically. So under Bill TCF, OTT looks to pursue activities that support the commercialization of promising energy technologies while simultaneously enhancing and improving infrastructure, competitiveness, opportunity, and equity, and addressing the climate crisis. As I mentioned, we work very closely with our partner offices on all of our programming. And we're really hoping to cultivate a broader innovation network around bill provision activities here. And I believe that I'm going to hand it over back to Rachel after this. But I also want to echo Andrew's sentiment and just express how excited and enthusiastic we are at the Office of Technology Transitions, but across the department for the work you're all going to do as part of this prize.
Awesome. Thank you, Becca and Andrew. So talking about the eligible technology components, I do want to highlight that more information on this can be found in the official rules document and Appendix B. So we are looking for manufacturing or recycling of components for production, processing, delivery, storage, and end use of clean hydrogen. Another opportunity is manufacturing of components related to the electric grid or upgrades to long duration energy storage. And we do have some like caps on that. So we want like 10 hours if you're working on LDES. Additionally, we're doing manufacturing of components related to carbon capture and storage. It is not, we want to highlight, it is not a DAC prize. We are not doing we have other prizes that will support that, but this one is not direct air capture. So please take a look at the Appendix B, page 34 of the official rules for the complete description and definitions of what the eligible components are. So the official rules document can be found on HeroX under the resources tab, and we will place that link in the chat for you as well. It's vitally important that you read the official rules for the prize before submitting your proposal. It does have the outline of what is eligible, as well as what you need to submit, although we will be doing that brief overview here today. For eligibility, you'll see that entities, non-federal government entities, and individuals are eligible to submit this prize. For private entities, you must be incorporated and maintain a primary place of business in the United States. Similarly, individuals not part of a private entity must be a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident. It is also important to note that though individuals can submit at this phase of the process, in phase 1, competitors will need to designate an entity to move forward. So again, please read the full eligibility details in the official rules. Looking at the facilities track structure, this webinar is for the statement of intent. I want to note that there is no limit to the number of those that can be deemed eligible at this point in the process, and there is no monetary award. For phase 1 and phase 2, the number of winners listed is for the total prize, not for each timeline. So across the primary and secondary timeline, we will have approximately 12 winners for phase 1. And for phase 2, there will be up to 4 winners. The primary timeline for phase 1 is due in February. So the number of winners available for the secondary timeline, which is this timeline, will be determined after that announcement. And here's a look at the timeline for the prize. As I mentioned, there's the primary timeline and the secondary timeline. The funding for this prize is on a first come, first served basis. The deadline for primary statement of intent was in October of last year, and those deemed eligible have a deadline for phase 1 on February 1st. So we are now on secondary timeline statement of intent, and that deadline is February 15th. No, sorry, February 1st. February 1st as well. Phase 2, shovel ready, will close either after 4 awards are made or after the 4 submission deadlines. So if 4 awards are made after the 2nd deadline, then we will not have the 3rd or 4th deadline. Here's a handy flow chart that our team made showing the opportunities available in each timeline. Though it is true that the primary timeline submissions will have a first go at phase 2, we strongly encourage these submissions for the secondary timeline. As a reminder, no awards for phase 1 have been made so far, and up to 12 are available for both timelines. So for the secondary timeline, the statement of intent is due February 1st. And then phase 1 scope will be due in May 2nd for those that are deemed eligible for the statement of intent. So let's discuss what you need to submit for the statement of intent. The statement of intent has 2 components, the narrative and the summary slide. In total, these 2 components cannot be more than 2 pages combined. Within the narrative, you'll need to provide the project title, the information of the submitter and their contact information, the technology component that you'll be manufacturing, and here you must include a clear identification of the technology that is listed in Appendix B and give a clear explanation of the relationship between the manufacturing facility and that technology. Then, again, please review Appendix B in the official rules for those technologies. Within that, we would like to see a 1 to 2 paragraph description of the facility, project, team's current status, include key project members, city, state, and 9-digit zip code for the location of the team. So this, combined with the summary slide, which can be made public, should be 1 document in a PDF format, no longer than 2 pages. The statement of intent portion of this prize allows reviewers and administrators to determine the eligibility of the project. Competitors will be notified of their eligibility within 30 days of the statement of intent deadline. Again, there is no limit to the number of submissions that can be marked eligible through the statement of intent process. But we do hope to save you time and trouble by reviewing what the next phases of the prize are looking for. So if your prize is eligible, you will be able to move on to phase 1 scope. This phase will down select to about 12 winners, each to be awarded $500,000. As you are in the secondary timeline, the phase 1 will open after the eligibility announcement, and will close in May. For the phase 1 submission, we are requiring a cover page summary slide, which will be made public, a narrative document, permitting and environmental plans, financial model, and identification of resources, a community benefits plan, and any supporting documentation, including letters of support. We want to see that the eligible component you have is in fact ready to be manufactured. This prize does not support research or development or demonstration activities for new technology or new components. The facilities track has the ultimate goal of building manufacturing facilities or repurposing brownfield facilities for these technologies. So the tech really needs to be ready for that. The impact includes the ability to generate additional economic activity where the manufacturing center is located. That will include direct and indirect economic benefit to the community, the potential to significantly enhance the domestic supply chain for this technology. We would like to see identified, potential customers see that the winners are filling a unique gap that's not being fulfilled by others, or provide a large jump in capability from an existing company's current operations. We do have a template for the narrative document that the competitors should use in phase one. It includes 4 topics: the technology validation, business validation, management capacity and key staff, and then potential sites being considered for construction. There is no word limit for the discussion related to each topic. However, the aggregate document must not exceed 3,000 words. That excludes captions, figures, and graphs or references. A word count must be included at the end of your submission. You can see the template for details. These are, again, included in the HeroX page under resources. With the permitting table, our competitors should fully account for fulfilling the requirements for permitting, ensuring that you know the various local, state, and federal permits that you need to implement your project. The template is by no means an extensive list of what those permits will be because they vary by region. You're asked to use that template to show a full understanding of all of the permits to be obtained and begin construction in each potential site. We want to see that you have a full understanding of the authorities that have jurisdiction for each permit, and an expected timeline to secure the permits that are required. We know that permitting can take a really long time, and we don't expect all of the permits to be in hand by the time that phase one is due, but we do want to see that you know what permits you need and you have a timeline and a plan to get them. For phase two, we want to see that competitors are in fact shovel ready for construction or repurposing a manufacturing facility. We want to see control of the site, the permits, financing that has been secured, and proof of meaningful local engagement. So full details for phase two can be seen in the rules. And again, the rules have been added to the chat. For phase two, the primary timeline will have the first chance at submitting for phase two. They will have one opportunity. The blue arrows identify when the phase will open for each timeline, and then the yellow arrows identify when that phase will close for each timeline. Again, this phase will end after either the 4th deadline or after 4 winners have been selected. So if all 4 have been selected by the 2nd deadline, then we will not have the 3rd or 4th deadline. Phase 2 does have a lot more extensive information that we need. Again, the cover page, summary slide, narrative document, those are all things that you've already worked on, but the proof of the secured site, the permitting, the financing, financial model, and how you've identified the sources. We need to see the engineering and that you're ready for construction, as well as having that project schedule. The community benefits plan, a cybersecurity plan, and then again, any supporting documentation or letters of support. All of this will compile to show the reviewers that your team is in fact shovel ready for constructing a manufacturing facility for the approved clean energy components. The review of phase 2 will be manufacturing readiness, market viability, and project plan, the impact, team capabilities and experience, and then the community's benefit plan. Finally, I want to share with you how to access more information on the prize and what partners we have to help. So how to register and compete. We will drop this link in the chat. So you'll go to HeroX for the Make It Facilities page. You'll select Solve This Challenge or Begin Entry. You can sign in or create a HeroX account. You'll need to agree to the terms of use, confirm your email address, and then accept the challenge-specific agreement. You'll need to do this and submit your statement of intent before the deadline of February 1st. These are the tabs along the bottom. So you'll have the summary tab, which gives you a brief overview of what we're looking for with the prize. The timeline shows you where we're currently at and what the upcoming deadlines are. Updates include updates from the Make It Prize team. And so we'll post news updates or updates on deadline that are coming up, as well as winners of previous phases. The forum is where you can ask public questions. Teams show the other teams that are competing, people that have signed up, people that are following, as well as who was deemed eligible in the primary timeline. Resources is very important. I have highlighted that a few times in this, so that will have the official rules. It will have all of the templates that you need. And this is also where the recordings will be placed for any of these webinars. Additionally, we have an FAQ section. We have an FAQ from the similar webinar that we did back in August. And we will be posting an FAQ for this or updating that one. So we will send this out to everyone who's attending and let them know when they can find that there. So finally, I want to share with you how to access more information on the prize and the partners that we have to help you. The American Made Challenges team has assembled a core group of incubators, universities, and other industry organizations who perform critical program tasks. And that includes recruiting teams, hosting events, providing assistance for prize competitions. These are really highly skilled partners and are here to assist our competitors. We call them our power connectors. The power connector that is assisting with the facilities track right now is Yet2. You can schedule one-on-one meetings with them through the link provided in the chat. They have office hours where they can do the one-on-one meetings with you and help review the application, help answer questions on eligibility and technologies, and any other questions that you might have on the rules. Later today, we will be hosting the strategies webinar. You can connect with members of the other track, which are ideally communities that are looking for manufacturers to come to their region. As time goes on in the prize process, we are hosting formal opportunities to connect. And then next steps. So recruit team members, community partners, local organizations. Make sure your team is registered on HeroX. Read the rules, plan your participation, and leverage the support resources. I highly encourage you to connect with Yet2. And then finally compete. Submit your statement of intent by February 1st. All right, and then I want to remind you to get your questions in via chat, and then we will be answering these and then posting the answers via HeroX in the coming days. Carly, have we had any questions come in?
We do have a few. We've been able to answer a few from our end, but I think there are a couple lingering questions. So the first one, is there a required or recommended template for financial model?
There's not a template for the financial model. Please refer to the rules document for a description of what we're asking to have included in the financial model.
Perfect. This next question says, are there alternative sources from OCED? We are shovel ready now.
Yeah, I can take that. There are generally other funding sources from OCED. Encourage you to look towards OSED Exchange, and there's a separate website for that, our OSED website. But generally, I think manufacturing support is going to be fairly unique. So check those out and see if there's a right technology and stage fit.
Okay, and then there's a question here that, Ian, it looks like you're going to answer this question live. It's, why does this require identification of the specific address? And there's some additional details in that question.
Becca, do you want to answer that one on the part numbers?
Why does this require? I don't think we do require.
Yeah, specific
identification
is not required, but competitors must identify a specific component part to be manufactured.
Oh, sorry, I was looking at the wrong question. Yes, you don't need to identify a part number, but you must identify a specific component that you'll manufacture.
So again, that's in the Appendix B of the official rules. So we have those listed out. And so if you are manufacturing one of those, specifically state this is what we are manufacturing.
All right, then it looks like there's another question here that was more specifically asking about the identification of the specific address. So what happens if the plan location changes? Because if you don't have the permits, it may become apparent that the location has changed.
We don't require identification of a specific address at the statement of intent stage.
And even at phase 1, it is a list of potential sites.
Correct.
All right, this next question. We did list which parts to be manufactured. Is the problem that we listed multiple parts? So this might be a specific application question that's best handled offline, but Rachel, I'll go ahead and let you respond.
Yes, so the rules specifically state that we need a different application for each part that will be manufactured.
Okay, this next question says, with regards to the timeline overall, we had submitted an LOI for the primary timeline and were successful. Are we able to submit for a phase 1 scope for the secondary timeline instead of submitting February 1 for phase 1 scope, instead submitting in May?
Yes.
And you do not need to resubmit the statement of intent in order to do that.
Okay. It looks like that was the majority of the questions here. If we want to give another minute or two, if anyone else has additional questions.
While we're waiting, I do want to note that we will be doing the strategies webinar at 2 p.m. Eastern today. So if you have not yet signed up for that, I believe that was posted early on in the webinar today. So scroll up in your comments if you'd like to attend that. Again, that's going to be primarily communities that are looking for attracting clean energy manufacturing to their regions.
Okay, Rachel, I don't see any other questions.
Wonderful. So yes, well, with that, I want to say thank you for everyone for attending this. If you do have more questions, please feel free to email the email address here, makeitprize@nrel.gov, and we will get back to you. And then we will look forward to getting this posted, the recording and the FAQ posted in the coming days on HeroX. So thank you all for joining.
Thank you, everyone.